This week on the WriterCon podcast.
One piece of advice I would give to writers is just start. It's, we all have that imposter syndrome of who am I to write a book? Who am I to say, that I have anything worth other people wanting to read? And really everybody, it doesn't matter whether you're in fiction, nonfiction, whatever it is, you have a story to tell, and there are people out there who want to read it.
Welcome to WriterCon, a gathering place for writers to share their knowledge about writing and the writing world. Do you have a desire to write? Every successful writer started with their first book. All it takes is determination and knowledge, and WriterCon can provide that knowledge. Your hosts are #1 national best-selling writer William Bernhardt, author of more than 60 books, including The Superman Wars, and Lara Bernhardt, award-winning author of the Wantland Files series and Shadow of the Taj.
Thank you, Jesse Ulrich. Hey there, writers. Thanks for joining us. Look, I did a little research, and do you too, Lara, Jesse, do you recall what topic we discussed almost exactly 3 years ago on the episode we recorded on the WriterCon cruise? You didn't know I was going to open with like Final Jeopardy, did you?
Only because I read the script a second ago.
Okay. Well, let me help you out. I know what you remember best from that cruise. It was the spicy romance. That's not it. Although, thank you, Amy Brewer,
yes,
the agent we had on board that time. She knows her business. But no, I was thinking more of hockey romances. That's when we first did a news story about hockey romances, which have only gotten more huge since then.
We are ahead of the game.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I saw what you did there. Very good. They are more popular and apparently in some instances more extreme. Some people online are now calling it hockey porn. And of course, the television series Heated Rivalry, which I will have to admit I haven't actually seen, but it is wildly popular. And Lara, talking to you now, because we've got a daughter who is big into, not even habitually a voracious reader, but now she's absorbing hockey romances, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
And that's led her to go to actual hockey games.
So I know that she does go to hockey games. I'm not sure which came first, or if
really?
maybe she started reading and decided to check it out. Maybe, but she does enjoy both. That's true.
But she does read the books, right? And I think the hockey league should be selling these in their gift shops or next to the popcorn and the hot dogs or whatever. I think
the jerseys.
They reinforce one another. But I don't know, Jesse, you're our resident sporting expert. Is there something about hockey that lends itself to fictional romance?
I was just thinking, I think because of hockey's sort of place in the American sports pantheon of not being one of the super popular ones, it has a freedom to play with this format that I think I don't think an NFL one would work as well as a hockey one. I'm not sure why. I feel like it has to do with the level of the popularity of the sport in America. So the less
the fact
big
that it's
the sport
less
is,
popular,
it gives people
helps the books.
I think because if people know less about the sport, they can more engage with the story, right?
I thought maybe it was the violence, because doesn't hockey also have the reputation of being and this is in a country where we have Major League Football, but still hockey is the violent.
Hockey is hockey's violent. Hockey's also one of those where they have to be. It's one of those sports where everyone playing it, sort of like actual soccer, worldwide football, has to be like in incredibly good shape. So there's no like chubby center fielders in hockey.
Well, the one that I read, I don't remember any violence in it, but the female protagonist was an ice skater. And so there was some crossover there that the two of them were both able to skate.
Are people just writing The Cutting Edge as a romance novel now? Like, I mean, we've had this movie. We know how this goes.
But no, and that made it so that he could kind of step in and help her with her routine. Anyway, yeah. So.
I've been watching the Ken Burns documentary series on baseball, about 30 years late, but I finally got to it. And I'm thinking Major League Baseball should hire me to write a baseball romance, because then baseball will take off, right? And maybe it'll become America's favorite pastime again.
I don't know if anyone's going to hire you to do it, but if you think there's an audience for that, you go. Get it. Get on the curve and kick it off. Yeah.
Ask for forgiveness, not permission.
I wouldn't be qualified really to write romance or baseball, but sure, why not? I haven't let a lack of qualifications keep me from doing anything.
Listen, you cannot fail if you refuse to quit, Bill, as you say every time.
I've heard that. Yeah. Somewhere. I don't know where.
Take your own advice.
Our interview today is with Steve Younis, who is an Australian writer on subjects near and dear to my own heart. He hosts the Superman homepage, which is a great website I consulted constantly when I was writing this book of mine coming out in April, The Superman Wars. You wouldn't imagine how much Superman-related stuff could be taking place in a single week, but it does. We're going to talk to him about the difficulties of assembling a nonfiction book in this popular culture arena, which is a boom field right now in the publishing world. He's written a book called Beyond the Cape. I'll let you guess for 10 minutes what that's about. And a new one called Man of Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. We'll talk to him about all that and more. But first, the news. News story number 1, Book Riot's 2026 Read Harder Challenge. You've probably heard of other people challenging you to read or your children to read, like the local library, but Book Riot, which is a website, does it too. In fact, they do it every year, but they've expanded it this year. They've put out in advance a list of 24 tasks. That's 2 tasks per month to motivate you into reading, of course, and also expanding your reading life, diversifying a little bit and reading things you might not have discovered otherwise. So every month they've got 2 chores, although since you've got the list for the whole year now, you could theoretically work out of order, or you could figure out some kind of book that covers more than one of the categories. I think, like have a graphic novel written in a different country that has this kind of character in it or something like that. They're trying to get people to read more. Task 20, read a book set in space. Task 18, read a nonfiction book about AI or social media. So if the book about AI and social media was also set in space, you see what I'm saying? You can combine them. The idea, of course, is to get you writing. There's a newsletter you can sign up for, and you can go to their website anytime and check out these goals. Lara, does it seem like a good idea to you?
Yes, anything that encourages people to read seems like a good idea to me. And then for me personally, I kind of like the idea too. I read a lot of different genres working with authors. So manuscripts in progress that I read expose me to a wide variety of different types of books. So on a personal level, when I'm reading just to read, just for me, I do tend to kind of fall back on my favorite authors, into the same genres, the same types of books. So I do encourage myself sometimes to reach out and grab something a little bit different just so that I don't get stuck. I mean, eventually I'll get tired of it and I've got to get something and take a break from the usual and try something different, which I'm doing right now. And I'm really enjoying the book that I picked up. So
for you,
it's always good, I think, to branch out and do something different, shake it up a little bit.
Jesse, how about you? You intrigued by this list? Or are you thinking, hey, don't tell me what to read?
If people who need help, expounding upon
there aren't enough books out there. Go.
Well, here's the thing. There are so many books out there, and it is nice if people are like, hey, if you like this, you might also like this, or here's a way to try something new. I personally don't need that because I'm constantly always looking for what I'm going to read next. I'm also very genre-esque locked in. That's because I spent 6 years just reading academic historical work, so I'm good on the nonfiction front for at least another decade. But yeah, I think, listen, if you can gamify getting people to read more, I'm all for it. Like, let's share those lists. But, it's one of those things where, like, again, what is the end goal? What are they doing with the information I'm giving them? And, how useful the output is. So.
All right. News story number 2. Spotify is adding PageMatch to its playlists and whatnot. Let me just tell you up front, PageMatch is what Amazon calls Whisper Sync. It's exactly the same thing. It's the ability to synchronize your ebooks with the audiobook equivalent, which is convenient for people who like to do both back and forth on the same book, apparently. Like, you listen to the audiobook as you're driving to work, I suppose, but then you read the ebook while you're on your lunch break or something like that. Anyway, Spotify is adding that to their audiobooks because they've been trying for a long time now to become a hub for audiobooks. Now, the way the feature works is that it's a little more awkward than what Amazon does, but of course, Spotify doesn't sell books, so they can't do it the same way. So what you're going to do is scan the page that you're reading, like this is where I left off, using the optical character recognition, the OCR, that will then identify the passages and match it to the timestamp in the audiobook so that you can go back and forth. I don't think I explained that very well, but you got the general idea, right? Nod your head, Jesse. Okay, thanks. Because you're our audiobook expert. Does this innovation seem like a big deal to you?
I don't know if this is something people were asking for. Like, I know I have friends who do sort of the ebook to audiobook switchover depending on where they are and what they're doing. This seems like, I don't know, you all tell me. If I'm reading a book physically, I don't think I'm going to be switching between that and the audiobook version of it that often. I'm glad they have this. I was worried the Spotify was just going to be listening to you and you have to like read aloud a passage you're on so it would know where you are or whatever. Scanning the page.
That seems like better. It'd be easier. Yeah.
I'm glad OCR is still around. Good for OCR. It's a long time like AI type technology. I don't know if this is necessary. I mean, good for Spotify, I suppose. I would love to hear if any of our listeners would actually be interested in this.
Yeah, if you are, please put that in the comments.
Yeah.
Lara, is this persuading you to get your audiobooks on Spotify now? You even have a Spotify subscription? Seems like you've shown me playlists before. Yeah.
I do. But I'm a very, very recent
convert
Spotify joiner. I just very recently hopped on, and actually, the first book I published, and I'm pushing the audiobook out. It's on Spotify now, so I'm interested in seeing how it does for sure. I also just like the idea of being able to say that my books are on Spotify. So kind of, I don't know. Yeah, listeners, tell us who actually uses this, who goes back and forth between audiobooks and ebooks, and tell us how you utilize that function and how that's most beneficial to you. Because
get your audiobook on Spotify. Does your publisher have to submit it, or do they get direct stuff from Audible or somebody, or how's that work? Do you know?
Oh, yeah, it went through. I submitted it through Findaway Voices.
Yeah, I was going to say Spotify,
which has now been acquired by Spotify.
And it's not called that anymore, is it? I'm still calling it by its old name, but yes, that's how I did it.
All right. Interesting. Let's move on to Craft Corner. So our Craft Corner this time is being provided by major friend of WriterCon, Tamara Grantham, who's published, how many do you think? A lot of books in a wide range of fantasy genres, including my personal favorite, Never Call Me Vampire. This time she's discussing the pros and cons of traditional publishing versus self-publishing, because she's done both, so she can tell you what works and what doesn't. Take it away, Tamara.
Craft Corner.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be able to share some writing knowledge with you. My name is Tamara Grantham, and I am a fantasy author. I've written about 20 novels, maybe a few more than that. I don't know. I have to stop and count sometimes. But I have been published traditionally, and I self-published also. And so I kind of want to discuss how they're different and the pros and cons of each. So the first series that I published was published traditionally with a smaller press. I had to go through the whole process of sending a query letter and, sending my full manuscript, going through the gatekeepers. I did not have an agent. So with the smaller press, you don't always have to have an agent. And so I was able to get accepted with a publisher. At the time, they were called Clean Teen Publishing. I ended up publishing 10 books with them. And as far as the pros go, I loved their covers. They were easy to communicate with. And for me, it was a great process, especially publishing my first series with them. I didn't know a whole lot about what I was doing, so that really helped. And then I also ended up publishing my middle grade novels with a different publishing company. And I won't mention their name just because I didn't have the greatest experience with them. They decided they weren't going to publish middle grade anymore, so I wasn't able to publish my sequel. They were great, though, with helping me get my rights back so that I was able to self-publish the next book in the series. So, I also published 4 books with Babylon Books, which was also, I found to be a great process. Again, the communication was great. The cover artist was great. The editors were great. And I didn't have to pay for any of those things. So that was a good opportunity for me. But after I published for a while, I started to see like how marketing works and started to see how editing works and the whole formatting process. And I decided I think I could do this myself. And so I self-published the Harley Sinclair series along with some of my middle grade books. And I've been happy with that process as well. It is more work. But I do get to keep more of my earnings. And I have a lot more say in the whole process. So that's been my experience. I did have an agent for a while. We weren't able to publish anything. And I think I'm going to try again to get an agent for another series that I'm working for, that I've written, just because I think it would do well traditionally published. It's a romantasy, and those tend to do well traditionally published. So we'll see how it goes with that. But that's been my experience, and I just wanted to let you know how that worked out for me. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Tamara Grantham. And please go check out one of her wonderful fantasy novels like Never Call Me Vampire. All right? Now let's talk to Steve Younis. Steve Younis, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, William. I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you coming. I hope you can tell Lara and I both dressed for the occasion. Not that that's really a stretch for me, but this is Soups and Crypto, and she's got the official thing. All right. Usual first.
Sorry, I feel underdressed. Like
Where's yours? I thought maybe you were
behind me. So
I thought maybe you were going to rip that open and there was going to be an S shield underneath it. But
it's every other day I'm wearing one, and today when I choose not to, I'm getting interviewed. So apologies.
But as I mentioned a second ago, you may have more action figures behind you than Lara does today, and that doesn't happen very often. All right. Lara. First question. If you could offer writers one piece of advice, what would it be?
One piece of advice I would give to writers is just start. It's, we all have that imposter syndrome of who am I to write a book? Who am I to say, that I have anything worth other people wanting to read? And really, everybody, it doesn't matter whether you're in fiction, nonfiction, whatever it is, you have a story to tell, and there are people out there who want to read it. And so just do it. Just get out there. I mean, not to steal a slogan from Nike, but just do it. Just get out there and start, because that's the hardest part. Sitting, watching that blinking cursor in front of you on a blank screen, and, not knowing what it is you want to start with. Just get it in there, get it done, and then you can come back and re-edit and fix things up, but just start.
I love that. That's so inspirational. Even when I know what I want to say, I struggle with, what if no one wants to read it when I finish writing it? We put a lot of effort into books, and it can be daunting. So tell us how you got started writing.
Well, I've always loved reading, and I think any good writer, or anybody, good, bad, or indifferent, as a writer, you've got to start with knowing what you like to read. And so I've always been an avid reader, not necessarily nonfiction, which is, I'm writing about a fictional character, but I've loved Stephen King, Dean Koontz, a lot of these authors that would be very well known to a lot of people, but loved reading. And as a kid, loved creative writing, doing short stories and things like that. And having people who want to read, like even if it's just your family, your mother, your friend, a teacher, who is just like, keep it up. You've got something there. Just continue working at your craft. That's inspiring, because, as I said, you have that imposter syndrome of who am I to write anything. And so having a passion, having an interest, and then writing what that always is a great point to start.
So relatable. Yes, I feel the same way. Started out as a reader and then wanted to get in on it. But you then, about 30 years ago, for some reason, launched the Superman homepage. How did that happen?
Well, actually, I didn't launch it. It was started by a gentleman in the US who... this is very early days of the internet, where 1994 he started a Superman home page, and that's pretty much what it was. It was just the home page of a site. The internet was very, in its infancy, couldn't really do much. And as a graphic designer who got into web design, I started looking for things on the internet as it existed back then with dial-up modems, and I'm really aging myself here.
I remember.
We got on and looked for things that I was interested in, and Superman was one of those childhood things that I'd started to really get interested in again. I read the novelization of the comic book The Death of Superman storyline, and being an avid reader, I was walking through the bookstore and saw this cover of this bleeding Superman S symbol, and was like, what's that all about? And picked it up, and then started looking for comic books after that, and looked online and found this Superman home page. And being a graphic designer, offered some assistance to see if I could help out, make it look a little bit better and what have you. And after about 2 years of helping him out, he told me that he suffered from a rare genetic skin disease that predisposed him to cancer and didn't have long to live. And I was, completely shocked and was pretty sad. And he was saying, I'm going to have to shut down this web page. And I said, look, if you think I'm capable enough, I'd love to continue on your work. And that started it off. What I thought was just going to be a little small hobby grew into something bigger and wilder than I could ever have imagined. It's now thousands and thousands of pages. We've got, volunteers from all around the globe helping out. It's opened up so many doors. It's become almost like a full-time job for me now, where I've been running the page for, as you said, nearly 30 years. It's been online since 94. I took over in 96, and here we are in 2026. And it's now the #1 Superman fan site in the world. It's I've been to world premieres in New York City and for Man of Steel and Batman v Superman.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's just become something bigger than I could ever have imagined. And I'm just really blessed that it's been something that I've loved doing and continue to be able to do.
Fantastic. That's something you loved grew into that. But also, I'm very touched that you continued the legacy for someone who began it and then was not able to see it through. I love that. And then you have 2 books about our Man of Steel. The first one's called Beyond the Cape. Love that title. Oh, you got it. Excellent. All right. You got it in your hand. Tell us about that book.
Covering every aspect of the Man of Steel and following along this journey of James Gunn's Superman film, which was released in 2025, we at the website covered, day by day what was happening with it, what was going on, the blow, releases of this movie's coming out. This is what it's called. No, we're changing the name of from Superman Legacy to just Superman. We're filming here. These are the people who are being cast, and all that information was being collated and collected along the way. I was like, well, there's a book in this, because there's the whole journey from a fan's perspective, from the outside looking in, of how this developed and how this was coming together. And all I had to do was find a narrative of all those touching points to be able to connect it all together and piece it together and find a story from the fan's perspective, looking from the outside looking in, of how this film was coming together. I've been running this website, as I said, for 30 years, and I've never been busier reporting on anything than I have been with James Gunn's Superman film, because there was just so much coming out. Day by day, there was, where is this film filming, the locations, the merchandise, the marketing. It was just so much happening that there was so much content. And I thought, well, there's information is up on my website, but it's not been, there's nowhere you can see it all in one place. And there's no, from the outside looking in, a fan's perspective on just how this is coming together. So I thought, well, that's a book there. And so I put it together.
And turned out you were right. And now you've got a second book on a related theme, Man of Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. What are you doing in that one?
Well, again, this one, once you start on one topic, it's like, hang on, there's more here. There's a wealth of information that I am sitting on from this website. And one of the things that we do at the Superman homepage is we have a calendar of premieres, birth dates of all the different actors, comic book releases, movies when they came out. DC over the years, I think it was in 1976, had a calendar of all the character birthdays. As we know, Clark Kent's birthday is on February 29th, and why that is, and or Superman's birthday, I should say, is on February 29th, and why he celebrates it on that, and when's Lois Lane's birthday. So we have all these calendar dates across the whole world of Superman, and I thought, again, I tried to do a calendar at one point and release that on like an Etsy type of thing, and DC rapped me over the knuckles, said, no, you cannot do that, pull that down. And I was like, but there's information here that the fans want to know about. Again, how can I find a narrative to connect all those kinds of things? And I thought, well, that calendar-based idea is still worth exploring. But so this book is broken up into chapters that are January, February, March, April, May, etc., and looking at what do those months usually kind of relate to. So January is obviously the beginning of the year, so we're looking at new beginnings, and so look at the dates that are in the world of Superman in January and connect them together, and again find a narrative that connects all those different things. And when you look at all these dates, and sometimes you have like a birth date, an anniversary of someone's death, and all these things that land on the same day. And there's like, well, that's kind of like a cosmic coincidence that these three things happen to fall on the same day in the world of Superman. And what does that tell us about the character? And so that kind of started spurring all these ideas. And so it's a calendar of significant birthdays, premieres, and milestones in Superman's history collected together in a interesting calendar-based type, collection.
Well, one thing all those dates coming together tells you is this character has been around a long time. Of course, he has. Why does it still seem so relevant? Why do people rally so around this almost 90-year-old character?
I think because each generation gets the Superman that they need. So if we look at the 1930s, 1940s, were coming out of, well, when I say we, I wasn't born then, I'm not that old, but, the world was coming out of the Great Depression, and World War, I was, in the 1940s. And so the character kind of inspired a lot of people at the time who were looking for something for an escape from all the things that were going on around the world, and especially in the US when Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster created the character. And then in the 1950s, you get the George Reeves TV series, where we're kind of like in that era of, there's a boom in society, and, we're looking towards a more positive aspect of life. And we get that whole truth, justice, and the American way slogan that really becomes so prevalent at that time from the TV series, and obviously the radio series that came before it. And then in the 1960s and 1970s, we get that silver age, we're looking to the stars, we've gone to the moon in 69. And so we start looking outwards towards space, and you get those more cosmic adventures of Superman that happened in the comic books at that time, and the outlandish things. We get Brainiac, we get all these kind of characters that come from a more cosmic, view of the character. And then in the 80s, we're grounded again. We've come back to look at Superman. We go through the death of Superman in the 90s because, do we need the character anymore? Is he really relevant anymore? We've got all these anti-heroes, and so let's kill him off. And then, like, the world goes crazy. Like, Superman's important. We can't kill him off. He's part of Americana and part of our collective consciousness. So how dare you kill him off? And there's a big uproar. And, of course, they're always going to bring him back. And then, so it's this whole idea of Superman is part of our public consciousness, is part of pop culture, and every generation gets the Superman that they need, and therefore he's always relevant. And in current times, he's become a father, he's married Lois, he's got children, he's got a child. With the TV series, he's got twins. So they bring him into that, well, the audience that's reading him is growing up. It's, adults in their 30s, 40s who are reading Superman now, not necessarily the kids anymore who have got TikTok and things to kind of keep them occupied. So Superman's stories have to mirror the audience that are reading him. And so as adults ourselves, we're looking at Superman to be more relevant to us. So, yeah, I think he's just adapted and matured as the generations have gone along to be the Superman that each generation needs.
I would have been super impressed if you were born in the 30s and 40s, by the way. That would
my skincare, you want to know.
Really remarkable.
Yeah, excellent.
That's fascinating, though. That's neat, yeah.
You just a couple minutes ago mentioned Siegel and Schuster, and I think you know that my forthcoming book, The Superman Wars, is essentially a biography of Jerry Siegel. You know that story. You know how Jerry Siegel being the originator of the idea for Superman, the writer, but that didn't always turn out so well. So, what are your thoughts on that? Do you have anything you'd like to say on the subject?
Yeah, no, it's a fascinating topic to discuss, because there have been so many rumors and innuendo over the year about just who is in the right, who is in the wrong. And the more you get into it, and the more you see the letters that Jerry has written over the years back and forth to DC, and, was it a massive corporation, kicking the small guy to the curb, or were they well compensated for the work that they did and just got greedy? There are so many facets to this story that it is really fascinating, and I think look, I think they were, from my perspective, the more I read, they were very well compensated and were living the high life early in those years. For a while, they were quite well, doing very, well. And I think maybe we're a little bit naive to think that it would just continue on forever. And then I think Jerry, maybe did get a little bit greedy and wanted to, while things were going really well, thought, hey, hang on, I can get a bigger piece of the pie here, and started poking the bear, so to speak. And I think maybe pushed too far and then got ousted. And it's one of those stories where there are so many, different angles that you can come at it from, that it's hard to know just where to land on. Whether do you feel sorry for them and say, geez, they could have been multimillionaires and probably did well for the time and were living the high life, but then the rug got pulled out from underneath them at a point. And
multiple things can be true.
Yes, exactly.
I see. When Lara and I talk about writing fiction, I always say bad guys are boring. You should have an antagonist who has a real motivation, a reason for doing what they do. And that's, now that I've written 400 pages on this subject or whatever, I don't see it as good guys versus bad guys anymore. It's art versus commerce.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
People in different camps who wanted very different things. Yeah, everybody's behavior could have been better, but that's what it comes down to.
Well, don't they always say the villain thinks that they're the hero of their own story?
Yes. Well, I could geek out and talk with you all day, Steve, obviously, but I can see we're already well past our anticipated time. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's really been a pleasure. Maybe we can get you back sometime in the future.
I would love to. As you can tell, I can talk underwater when it comes to Superman. So I really appreciate you having me on.
What about Supergirl? Are we excited about that movie?
100%. I think the upcoming movie is going to be fantastic, and I think there's a lot to look forward to because the way that they're coming at it, she's not Superman with a skirt. She's her own character. So I think that's what fans need to remember is that we don't want a female clone of Superman. We want her to be her own person, and the fact that she grew up on Krypton and saw everyone she loved, and her world that she knew disappear, she's going to have some emotional baggage that's going to make her a little bit jaded compared to who Superman is.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see this take for sure.
Plus, it's based on a great book, right? Tom King.
Yeah.
Supergirl movie.
Yeah, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is definitely a breakaway from what fans will remember from, either the Silver Age or Helen Slater's version of Supergirl. So, come at it with an open mind because this is not Melissa Benoist's Supergirl even. This is a completely different take on the character, but one well worth exploring.
All right. Was I signing off? I think we need to do one of those Go subscriber things where you get the other cool 20 minutes that happened after, because then we could talk some more. But okay, wrapping it up. Steve, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Will. Thanks, Lara.
Thank you.
Just a few parting words. I'm afraid the WriterCon cruise has sailed. I mean, not actually, but registrations are closed. You can still email me if you want to make sure they're closed, but I think they're going to be closed. My email address is wilburn@gmail.com. But fret not, because there's a lot more WriterCon potentially in the future. The retreat will be taking place in July. That's where Lara and I and 3 other teachers meet with a much smaller group of writers so that we can interact directly. We can read your material. We can give you feedback. There will also be large sessions and chances for you to meet the other people in the group, learn about their books, and basically form your next support group or critique group or beta readers or whatever you want to call them. That's the WriterCon Retreat. That's in July at Canebrake. And then, of course, the big event, the conference this fall, it's always Labor Day weekend, and it is this year too. I believe that's September 4th through 7. We're going to break new records, I predict, this year, and I know we've got the best lineup of guests we have ever had. So I know it's several months away, but you might start thinking about coming to WriterCon this year. Lara, I see you're shaking your head or nodding your head. What are you saying?
I'm nodding. Yes, I'm so excited about the retreat. I'm looking forward to that. We have such a good time there. We have all of our meals together. We really do spend just a really good amount of time. So you get plenty of chances to speak with Bill, speak with me if you want to, reach out, connect with other aspiring authors. And I know for a fact that our groups who have met up at Canebrake with us are still connected and still helping support each other. And I'm super excited about the conference too. And it's never too early to start planning for that. Think ahead, plan for it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see everybody.
And if you're enjoying this podcast, hey, subscribe. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
And then rate or review it. I mean, if you're going to say something nice, otherwise skip it. But positive ratings or stars or whatever helps us get seen, you know?
If you have any complaints, send them to james.patterson@gmail.com.
Right. And tell your writing friends about it, all right? Until next time, keep writing. And remember, you cannot fail. I've heard Jesse Ulrich say this today, so it must be true. You cannot fail if you refuse to quit. Okay? See you next time.